Welcome to the Lightforge. This is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Nice to see you guys. Hope you're surviving the hot summery months. We got some news. We actually have some news this time. And this time won't be a 2-hour story time with Shady and Collins. Although that was
If you guys did not, for some reason you're listening to this podcast and you haven't listened to the one before, please go and do that. Shady Bunny and Educated Collins are on off their Twitch rivals win. It was wonderful. It went for 2 hours. But that's because we were having so much fun that we did not care about the time. Today, we're going to try to keep a tighter time limit. No more than an hour, 15 minutes tops. Trying to get it under an hour. Let's go. We have news. We had news last time. We went over all of the, whatever you call those, the new basic and common cards that they added. Went over all of that last time. An announcement is, if you're looking at the Lightforge tier list, they're all on there. And they're all good except one score, which is just broken, and it was broken from the get-go. It's Plague Bearer, which we said on the podcast was going to be somewhere between like around a 100, and it came out to be a 78 because it was bugged and broken and not doing stuff. So that's going to be updated, sometime in the next 24 hours, I want to say, to its proper score, which is actually a 111, which is still lower than I think many people want it, but it's got downsides. It's not really like a curve card.
Yeah. I think that's fair, like around where I would expect.
Yeah.
All right, so because I know we've gotten a lot of feedback, it's like, how is it a 78?
Yeah, we had to confirm, and it was the 4th of July here, so people were out, including me.
We're not a 24/7 organization here.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So let's talk about the biggest news from this week, which is expansion news. Blizzard came out with a very, trendy and extremely musical video announcing their next expansion, which is called Saviors of Uldum, and it is launching.
Terrible name.
Whatever. Launching August 6th. So this is like, I get what you mean. You can't really
SOU? What is SOU? That's
no,
just as bad as Ungoro.
Well, this is one in which we'll have to, for example, BlackRock, right?
BRM.
Some people just call it Black. Yeah, but some people just call it BlackRock.
BlackRock Mountain. BRM.
All right, well, Ungoro. We call
Ungoro.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Ungoro's terrible. That's exactly what I mean. This is Ungoro levels of horribleness in naming. Blizzard should be ashamed of themselves. Why Uldum? And Uldum is such a terrible word too. It's not even like Ungoro, which sounds cool. Uldum does not sound cool.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. It doesn't roll off the tongue either. You could just call it Saviors.
Yeah, well, people are probably going to do that, but it's not. Yeah, you're going to hear me bitch about this, by the way, for the next at least 4 months, maybe 5.
Oh, it wouldn't be you if you didn't do that. So, if you haven't seen the cinematic trailer, go to the Hearthstone YouTube and check it out. But today we're going to talk about some of the cards that they revealed right after the announcement. So, obviously, with any new expansion, there comes new mechanics. So let's just sort of start right off.
Before we go with the mechanics, who are the saviors of Uldum? You're burying the lead here.
Well, no. Oh my God. Do you think people actually care about this stuff?
I mean, the return of the beloved characters from Hearthstone. Some of Hearthstone's first original characters. This is an expansion deep in Hearthstone lore.
In Rise of Shadows, we saw the League of Evil attack Dalaran, and they took over the city of Dalaran. So for this next expansion, we're going to see our heroes rise up triumphantly to take back the city, and these are the League of Explorers.
It's sad when your version of the Avengers is the League of Explorers.
Right. So these are your all-time favorites, guys. Reno, Elise, Bran, and Sir Finley. So they are coming back to take back the city, and I don't know, something. That's your lore.
$100 they fail. Or else there wouldn't be a third expansion if they succeed,
Or they succeed, but then a bigger threat comes, and then League of Evil has to
Oh,
team
has to
up with.
team up with them. That's right. That's one of
Yeah.
two ways that this plot can go. I'm still going with the Avengers plot. The evil team gets together, the evil team crushes the good team, then the good team comes back with reinforcements and stuff. Probably from actual Hearthstone, from World of Warcraft lore. Instead of just these League of Explorer people who do not seem like they're fit to take on evil. What did they do in League of Explorers? I don't think they did anything, right? They like recovered artifacts. They're like Indiana Jonesy people.
It introduced them, and it introduced sort of like that's like archaeological Egyptian world, right? Like
Yeah, but
that they are in.
they weren't like fighting
No,
evil
no, no.
or
They
anything,
didn't
right?
do anything.
Okay.
No, no, no. There was no objective for them.
Okay.
It just introduced this sort of Indiana Jones-esque kind of expansion.
Okay.
Right?
So basically, they're highly unqualified for the job, which is why I think they'll fail.
Well, did you see the League of Evil? They were pretty incompetent.
I mean, okay, but it's a lot of experience, you know, and they've already succeeded. They're on a win, not like streak, I guess. They have one win, but you know, I'm gonna vote for League of Evil on this one. I think I feel like League of Evil is gonna come out triumphant at this expansion.
All right, well, that's great. So the two new mechanics that are being introduced. Let's talk about the first one, which I think is pretty interesting. And that's Reborn. Okay, the Reborn mechanic was shown through a warrior class card. Ooh, warriors. Called Restless Mummy, which is a 4-mana common minion with 3 attack, 2 defense, and it has Rush and Reborn. So Reborn gives minions with the Reborn keyboard the ability to return to life the first time that they're destroyed, but with 1 health remaining. So with Restless Mummy, you pay 4 mana, you summon a 3/2 with Rush, you rush it into something, and then you get a 3/1 Rush, and you can rush that into something again. Or you just drop it on an empty board as a 3/2 and then wait to use it for next turn.
Fireballs for every class.
Yeah, I mean,
this is just for warriors, but yeah, I mean, it's really good if you think about a fireball that can't go face but can be played as a drop. Like, not a terribly efficient one, but a decent one.
Yeah,
it's really insanely good. This is going to be a premium card, and if it were any other class, it would be brokenly good. But in warrior, it's kind of like, that's fair, because warriors just get a ton of broken cards in the form of weapon, and this is one more card with initiative. Like warriors are getting a lot of initiative. It's fine. But Reborn, if you remember, has been around since the days of Classic. This is Blizzard either running out of ideas or really trying to keep things simple, because some of their other mechanics are complicated that are coming in here. And so this is Harvest Golem. This is just a Harvest Golem.
Redemption.
Yep, a redemption. Redemption could give the next minion that dies Reborn. And it will synergize similarly with cards that are good with those types of cards. So it's not a lot of mental burden on players, which I like. Going into expansions, I either like really good mechanics or I like mechanics that just use existing rules. And this definitely is one that just uses existing rules. This is like when Lifesteal became a thing, you know, or when Rush became a thing. It doesn't mean it's not going to be game changing. Like, think about how game changing Lifesteal and Rush are now that they're so much more prevalent and that you get like, you know, stats on Rush that's not charge. So I definitely see a huge impact with this in the arena. It's a very arena-friendly mechanic, but it's not extra mental burden on players.
Yeah, that also applies to the second mechanic that Blizzard introduced, which is definitely not anything new, but they're introducing plagues. So plagues are wielded by the 5 League of Evil classes, which are Priest, definitely evil, and then Shaman, Warrior, Warlock, and Rogue. Plagues are just double-sided board clears. Blizzard's description are that plagues wreak havoc indiscriminately, affecting every minion on the board. So it's just double-sided board clears. And the card that they choose to show this off is a Priest card. Priest and clearing the board. It's a 9-mana epic spell called Plague of Death. It says silence and destroy all minions. So it's a more expensive Twisting Nether, but you get to silence stuff as well, which has a lot of applicability now because we have a lot of death rattles. We have a lot of just really weird, sticky minions. So this is a way for Priest to be super duper annoying, but it can only come out on turn 9. It's not like turn 6 clear or turn 7 clear that we've seen so many times before in the Priest arsenal.
Dreads is in our Twitch chat right now and says another Psychic Scream. Dan's game. It is another Psychic Scream effectively, right? Because you're just getting rid of everything. But I mean, finally, it's costing what it should, right? Like, think about how powerful Psychic Scream was. Psychic Scream was 7 mana, right? This is 9 mana, and it basically does the same thing. It's like Blizzard figuring out what balance actually is as they go on in this game. But yeah, looking forward to the other plagues. I'm kidding; these are terrible for the arena. I'm not saying they're unbalanced, right? You look at Plague of Death, and you're like, okay, they're actually pretty balanced, maybe. But they're not, like, they're huge swing cards, right? They make you play weirdly. It's depending on how often they get offered. So like Plague of Death is actually especially bad because priests don't have anything else that does this. And actually, what are the sets coming back? Because they announced the sets coming back too. Is Psychic Scream coming back?
Oh, well, okay. So if you guys are
Excavated
not aware,
Evil is coming back because League of Explorers is coming back. But that's only 3 damage to everything.
Yeah.
Psychic Scream was that KNC?
No, it's coming back. Psychic Scream is back.
Okay.
So you're gonna have Scream plus this card.
Okay, so I actually like that better because now Psychic Scream is epic as well. Plague of Death is epic, but we'll have an offering bonus because it's in the new set. So together, they will be seen more commonly than one common spell that removes everything. So, like, you should play around this, starting on turn 7, I guess, but definitely by turn 9. Now, it's still not great because that's like a 3-turn or like 2 out of 3 turns in one segment that you're really afraid you're gonna get your whole entire freaking board blown up. One of which you can't even play around Plague of Death because everything gets silenced. So yeah, but at least it's better than just having one of these in which you will never play around it and you will just lose a decent percentage of times whenever it gets played because you can't play around it. So okay, so the fact that Psychic Scream is coming back is actually good. I like that. But still, this is like one of the design issues with printing really powerful double-sided cards. If you make them single-sided, they have to cost more because it's only single-sided, and that means that they're less good of a control card as double-sided. But double-sided being a better control card requires you to be off the board, which in arena terms means requires you to be losing. Like, arena's not a thing where you like purposefully go off the board for long periods of time. That just doesn't like happen. You want to be on the board. Some people really want to be on the board depending on the deck, like a paladin deck, for example. Some are more ambivalent about it, but everyone prefers to be on the board. But when you add these cards, you prefer to be off the board. So all double-sided board clears have an inherent problem in arena, in almost all the arena metas. Okay, what are the double-sided? Which classes are the evil classes again? Warlock,
Priest,
right?
Shaman,
Priest,
Warrior,
Shaman,
Warlock,
Warrior, Warlock.
Rogue.
So Rogue is the one. Rogue is the one, right? I wonder what they're going to do with Rogue. Because you look at Warlock, you're like, all right, double-sided board clear. Who cares? That's what Warlock does. You look at Priest. All these double-sided clears are coming back. Excavated Evil's coming back. Psychic Scream is coming back. You look at Warrior. Presumably they give Warrior a not terribly like high-powered one. Because Warrior has a lot of deal 1 damage to all minion stuff, right? So that's not going to be a big deal. You look at Shaman. I don't know what's actually coming back for Shaman. Like, is like the destruction card right now still going to remain? No, they're rotating everything, so that's not going to remain.
They're rotating everything. Rise of Shadows will not be in the next rotation.
Oh, that's right. Rise of Shadows won't even be there. Yeah. So Hagatha's scheme wouldn't even be in there.
The next rotation is going to be basic and classic, obviously. League of Explorers. Obviously. Journey to Ungoro, Kobolds and Catacombs, Rastakan's Rumble, and then the new expansion, Saviors of Uldum. So Rise of Shadows is gone, and you're going to get, along with League of Explorers, which newer players might not have played before, but the meta is going to go back to what you guys are somewhat familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get these small poisonous minions again. We're going to get these powerful spells. We're going to get Primordial Drake. We're going to get Fungal Mancer. Everything you guys loved about the game is coming back.
In all seriousness, I think the last like month and a half, I guess, maybe last month. God, it's only been a month in Rise and Mechs. It feels forever. It feels like forever. It should remind you guys if you like forgot about the old meta, or if you've never seen the old metas. The old metas are very problematic compared to the new metas. So the new metas sometimes go a little heavy in the control side, but overall they're still better balanced and create a more dynamic game than the old metas. And you can see it in draft, you can see it in whatever. Although I don't know, I'll get into this later as well about how I think people are drafting too aggro in this meta. Like they latched onto the idea. They started off not aggro enough. Now they're too aggro. And I keep saying this every single time I get a chance. I say this. Now I have 112 win officially on the books. That is an aggro deck, aggro hunter. But before that, every one of my 12 win or 11 win runs was missing curve at either 2 or 3. And you know, it's just, you don't have, it's not like I purposely draft that, it just kind of happens. But if you prioritize curve, you lose out on value. And in this meta, like we know this, it's a general theme, right? Like in every single card game, a deck that is a little bit slower than the other deck will win. So if everyone's going for perfect curve, you want to be a little bit slower than that, which means you need a little bit more value than that. And then if you don't have the curve, so what, right? You're still going to be fine the vast majority of times. Which is kind of counter to what everyone's been saying, but that's my experience so far. Anyway, back to the new set that's coming in. So we were talking about Shaman, right? Shaman has Volcano, and it's going to have this new board clear, so that's fine. Plus, Shamans normally can blow everything up, but Rogue never has a double-sided board clear in its entire history outside of Vanish, which they are literally taken away from the game because it was so anti-Rogue, which makes me really curious what double-sided they're going to give. I will bet you anything that it is not a removal of any sort, not even deal 1 damage.
Not like Massive Betrayal? Everything betrays everything right next to it?
Oh, that's pretty roguelike. But no, I'm gonna say no. No, because Massive Betrayal is it already exists. It's a priest card, right?
Well, Mass Hysteria, and it's picked randomly.
Yeah. And Mass Hysteria is coming back, I think, right? It's Rastakhan, right? Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, and both of these classes are in the League of Evil. You know, they should be taking lessons from each other, right?
Rogue should not take lessons from anyone. Rogue has been top of the meta.
Especially not Priest, but
but it's been top of the meta for way too long. I'm waiting for it to be knocked down. But yeah, Priest, if you hear us talk about Priest right now and what cards it's going to have, Priest is going to be shifted in a certain direction in the next meta. Like right now, everyone is pretty high, and for good reason, on well, as far as priest archetypes go, on the like stay on the board, you can buff it, you have Valence Chosen, you have extra arms, maybe you have your Northshire Clerics, like go from that. You can anchor the board still with your whatever the 4/7 4 mana is. Next expansion, gonna be control. Pretty clearly, it's going to be control. Okay. That was I just wanted to like see which class is going to have an archetype issue with these guaranteed double-sided cards, and Rogue I think is going to be the problem. So very curious about that card.
Yeah, we can quickly talk about the other sorts of cards. They also say, hey, we're reintroducing quests, but quests have never been anything in the arena, so we can kind of skip talking about that.
So well, I want to talk about quests a little bit, not like how they actually play because they're not in the arena, but I think like if you look at Reborn, it's a pretty simple to grasp mechanic. Plagues are not really a mechanic. This is like potions, right? Like you may get like Plague Dealer or like, you know, whatever, right? Like add a random plague to your hand. Please don't Blizzard. But they might do something like that. But otherwise, they're just like regular cards. On the other hand, quests require you to like know a lot of stuff. Like think constructed, right? When you're playing against a quest deck or whatever, or like when you see it, it's complicated. It creates a lot of complexity, and you have to deal with it from like turn 1 always. Whether you're playing the deck or just playing against the deck. So that's where the mechanical and the player burden is concentrated on in this set when they designed the set. which means a lot of the other cards, I think, are going to be very straightforward and easy to grasp from an arena and probably constructed perspective. Which I enjoy, because, you know, every time a card gets complicated, whether there's RNG or not, right? Like, I hated Defile. Oh god, is Defile coming back? What set is Defile in? I've been just living in this la-la land of, like, not having Defile in for 2 metas now. It's got to be coming back. It's been gone for 2 metas. They're doing rotations.
No, it's not like this isn't the set for Defile. That's
Wait, really? What's Defile in? Oh, it's in KFT. That's right.
Knights of the Frozen Throne.
That's that's the only one that's not coming back. That hasn't come back yet. Good. Okay. So they'll bring KFT back. So we got another 2 more months in before they bring KFT back. Perfect.
Well, yeah. So it's KFT, and then we have Blackrock.
Yeah,
as well,
Blackrock Mountain hasn't been back yet.
Those are the 2 that have not made a return, or is not immediately making a return with the next rotation.
Yeah. So you can bet that they're going to come back in the mid-meta switch, which should be happening in the beginning of October. Cool. Okay, that's my thing about Quest. Just kind of an aside. And I guess I'll introduce the card that has to do with Quest, which is probably not in the arena either, but there's a 2-mana 2/3 battle cry. If you control a Quest, draw a card. It's a neutral. So it means, like, and remember, Quests you get at the start of your hand always. So if you're actually in Constructed, they just decided to print a 2-mana 2/3 draw a card. That's kind of crazy in my opinion, but what do I know? In Arena, it probably won't exist. So if they're doing more like Quest interaction this time around, there may be several cards that are not in the arena. And I don't know how their system works anymore when it comes to offering odds precisely, but at least back in the day, whenever there are cards excluded from the arena, other cards in its set that fit the similar characteristics. So if it's like a Druid rare, it means other Druid rares. If it's a neutral rare, it means other neutral rares. They fill in the offering odds spots and have higher offering rates. So it's something to watch out for. If you see any neutrals, don't really matter for this kind of stuff. There's too many of them. But if you see any class cards that get this and will be excluded from the arena, the other class cards from this set will have not only their regular offering bonus, but an additional bonus on top of that to make up for the absence of these kinds of cards. Right.
Yep. All right. Let's just quickly go through the some of the other cards that they introduced. So you talked about Quest and Explorer. The other neutral card is Jar Dealer, which is a 1-mana 1/1 neutral minion. Death Rattle, add a random 1-cost minion to your hand. I think, when I look at this card, I think about sort of what other small neutral cards create another small neutral card. It's kind of like Firefly, but you don't get the other one right away, and obviously the you don't get the extra 1 health, which is huge. Huge. So this okay. So this card certainly has some upside, but there are some real bad 1-drops as well. So you're just you're introducing a lot of RNG, definitely worse than Firefly, but it's a small card that creates another small card, and those have been pretty useful in Hearthstone's lifetime.
Yeah, but this card won't be as useful because of the RNG and the fact that it is a 1/1. Like, I know a lot of people don't think the difference between a 1/1 and a 1/2 is huge, but it's huge. I want to re-emphasize that.
It's big.
All
right.
Yeah. Moving on.
Next, we have a Shaman card, Evil Totem, 2-mana 0/2 Totem. At the end of your turn, add a lackey to your hand. Oof. You're going to lose to this card sometimes. It's going to feel real
a lot
bad.
Of times.
Yeah,
this card is ridiculous.
It's going to feel really bad when you can't remove this, because lackeys have a decent chance of having major tempo, right?
Yeah.
The 2 damage lackey in the early turn, that's real good. The rush
lackeys basically have 1 extra mana of tempo that's built into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, with the exception of the one that gets you a card, but that basically, like, it would be costed as these are all 2-mana costed cards that are for 1 mana. So you can look at Evil Totem as, at the end of your turn, like, if it's still alive, the next turn, and potentially whenever, right, you get like a coin that you can't use to ramp. Yep. Plus an actual regular card. So, like, a normal card plus a coin. That's kind of insane. And you're guaranteed one. So you're guaranteed to draw a card, which is usually what you have to pay 1 mana for anyway. And then you're guaranteed to get a coin, which is the other mana. and then you have an O2 on the board they have to clear. And if they don't clear it, you get it for every turn it's alive. This is an insane freaking card.
Yeah, if you guys remember during that event, Cavern Dreamer, we had for Mage, it was a 2 mana 1/3. So the extra health is very important, right, on Cavern Dreamer, but it gave them really small spells.
Yeah.
And this, it's kind of similar just because with both of these cards, Cavern Dreamer and Evil Totem, you're getting small cards that you can immediately play that sometimes are just going to be really perfect for the situation.
And Evil Totem gives you an extra mana.
Yeah.
So remember how busted Cavern Dreamer was? Yes, this is 1 less health, and that makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. But you are guaranteed to get a coin immediately, and you're going to get another one every turn that it's alive. So the cards it generates, lackeys, are much, much, much better than just 1 mana, random 1 mana spells, or like low mana spells, whatever Cavern Dreamer was.
All right.
So yeah, this is, oh god, this is so terrible. Like, it's functionally even a 2-drop. Like, that's how ridiculous it is because of the lackey it generates. Like, you're using your mana.
Yeah, you always get at least 1 lackey, right? So even if you only get 1 lackey, you've already like gotten what you're kind of supposed to get, right?
Yep.
So 2 mana for a lackey and then a 0/2 like taunt. It's like, okay,
this is like
cool.
In Constructed, I could see it being balanced. In Arena, this is not balanced. This is going to be like Evil Miscreant levels, and we also know how bad generating multiple lackeys are, right? Evil Genius, really powerful card according to most people, even though I think it's somewhat situational. But Miscreant, no one disagrees. It's a super premium card. Those all generate 2. This generates infinite, minimum of 1. Yeah. Likely, like, I think on average it'll generate more than 1. On average it'll generate more than 2. And it's just, I can't even. This is bad. Design wise, it's very good. In terms of how it is. But
all right.
Well, okay. Let me just point at 2 cards right now. So Restless Mummy. Between Restless Mummy and Evil Totem, you already have 2 overpowered cards. Out of the 1, 2, 3, out of 4 class cards that have been revealed so far, 2 of them are already overpowered. Plague of Death is fine, but the other 2 are literally like they're just. It's gonna be above a 150 on the. It's gonna be around a 150 on the tier list. Like, they're overpowered cards. They're not overpowered to the point that we have not seen cards as overpowered as these before. That's not the case, right? They're not creating a new level of overpoweredness. This is not like Lord Godfrey or like Implosion like levels. Like, it's probably a little bit worse than Implosion or around Implosion level. So it's at the top end, but it's no like Defile or like whatever. Still though, the era of KFT and Rastakhan, sorry, not KFT, Rastakhan, Boomsday, and Witchwood being relatively balanced is definitely over, right? Rise of Shadows was not. There were some overpowered cards in Rise of Shadows, including in neutrals, and this expansion looks to be doing the same. Also, just to note, for lackey generators, this is a new lackey generator, but presumably all the evil classes, all 5 of them, are going to get another lackey generator compared to what they currently have. So, that's not a good sign for the arena. I guess it doesn't matter, because in arena, Rise of Shadows isn't going to be in, so they're going to have the same amount of lackey generators.
Yep. All right. That's cool. We don't need to talk about the last card, really.
We do. It's everyone's favorite card.
Of Yogg-Saron. It's a 10 mana epic spell from Mage. Cast 10 random spells, targets chosen randomly.
Don't do it, guys. Resist the temptation.
People do it. I hope people do it.
It's going to be like the 4th bucket because of how frequently it's going to be picked for memes. even though its win rate is going to even its win rates for average players, right? Good players, obviously, randomness is terrible, especially this much randomness. But even for like average players, this is going to be a terrible card, and it's just going
Because
to
they
be
won't
picked
make
way
it to
too
turn
often.
10.
They will. It's going to be a much slower meta, but it's still not going to do all that much. Like, you basically skip your turn 10. Like, what are you like as a mage? What cards do you have? Do you have any cards left that like generates a minion? No, right? Conjurers is gone. Power of Creation is gone.
Yeah, you really needed Power of Creation to
Yeah,
be in there.
Portal's gone. Like, you're not generating any minions anymore.
No, I mean you could, like, there's a high chance for board clear though.
Yeah, but
There's
it's a
a
10
really high
mana. Like,
chance.
who cares? 10 mana board clear, right?
Sure.
Like 10 mana RNG non-guaranteed board clear that will then maybe also draw you some cards. Like, that's not, no one's excited about that. I mean, everyone's excited about it, but no one should be excited about it.
Right. It's gonna be. I mean, on average, it's like Twisting Nether with random effects, right? I think that's fair. Like,
I don't think it's going to be Twisting Nether even.
so what do you think it's gonna be? You don't think in the 10 spells, like it'll just clear the board?
I think it'll be like a Flame Strike. Because, oh, well, okay, depends on what spell the mage gets in its like double-sided board clear, right? Because otherwise it has what, like Volcanic Potion? No, MSG isn't even in. It doesn't even have Volcanic Potion. It just has Flame Strike, Blizzard, Meteor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spells.
There's a lot of spells. But you do get to roll 10 times.
That's true.
And there's a decent amount of stuff. And then, of course, you can get random fireballs to wherever, right? Your own face, their face, a 1/1.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm very low on this card.
Oh yeah. I'm not high on the card, but I didn't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So that's all the cards. We got all the cards now. Yeah, they have 2 other cards that are quests that we don't care about at all, in terms of what the actual quests are. So, well, actually, you know what? We're going to look at the quests. I just want to read them out loud to give you guys a direction of where Blizzard's going. So, Supreme Archaeologist is a Warlock card for the quest, and the quest is draw 20 cards, reward Tome of Origination. Tome of Origination is drawing more cards. You just don't hurt yourself. That's a hero power change. Card drawing for Warlocks may be a thing. For Untapped Potential is, what is this? Is this a Druid card? I want to say it's a Druid card. Quest, end 4 turns with any unspent mana, reward Alcetrian Tear, which switches your hero power into one that costs no mana. It's just passive, and it says you choose 1 card that both effects combine. So expect some choose 1 cards to be coming for Druid. That's it. Alright, let's move on. Moving on to... actually, before we move on, I just want to ask you, what are you expecting from this expansion, and what do you want to see in this expansion from a card release perspective, right? We do this for every intro.
Sure. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean, what am I expecting? In which way?
Like, okay, maybe not what you're expecting. What do you want to see? What would make you happy if they printed more of? Given we haven't done a very deep analysis yet of all the sets coming in, right? Of how the mix of League of Explorers, Journey to Ungoro, Kobolds and Catacombs, Rostakon's Rumble will affect the meta. But, like, what do you want to see overall in this new expansion to be added to Arena to make it more fun, more interesting, more skillful? I don't know.
Do you know what I want to see? I want to see a little bit more... I want to see this mechanic a little bit more often, which is disrupting your opponent's game plan, and disrupting their ability to sort of play exactly what they want to play. We've seen it in Constructed a few times, especially with like the new Saboteur. It's like, play a spell from their hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I like this sort of Saboteur kind of mechanic, and I like the Lotheb kind of mechanic as well. Just because if you look at the sets that were coming back, we have the potential to get into this really controlly sort of like grinding and back to fatigue kind of meta. And I think there's definitely some merit to it there, but you have games in which you definitely feel kind of powerless against that priest, right? Like priest and warriors in recent metas have had this effect sometimes on people where you're just like, okay, I never win this game. Like they've always had all of these
Yeah.
AoEs, they've always had this stuff, and it's really just you playing into a brick wall. You have no choice, and they just had everything, and it feels bad. Well, I don't think we need to like give everyone Lotheb effects all over the place, but I would like to see a bit more of those sorts of mechanics where you can selectively semi disrupt your opponent's plan to board clear you, to
Mm-hmm.
do this, to do that. Uh, whether it's through like these sort of smaller saboteur-ish effects, mini Lotheb effects, stuff like that. I think that would be kind of cool because it introduces a way for you to protect yourself a little, a way to game plan, to turn plan a little. Because for a lot of metas before this, you knew that like, okay, well, priest can. It's like they can potion madness me, and then they can clear me with excavated evil, and then they can do this and they can do that, and then they hit me with the light bombs. There was nothing really you could do to stop it. The only thing you could do was detempo yourself, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
significantly, in order to avoid it, which you're just like, well, not worth the risk. I'm just going to tempo out. So that's the thing I would like to see, mechanics wise. More ways for you to mess with your opponent's game plan to just safely play off the board, right? I think there should be more of a punish in that way, but we also need to introduce skill in that way as well. So, like, you give tools for players to disrupt, but they have to choose when they can play it. We've seen that in constructed in many ways, but I like, and the reason I bring up these saboteur things is because they're attached to a body, and I think in arena that's pretty important. You
Yeah.
can't just give sort of these cards like timeout or rebuke, right? Which is just by itself the effect, because these will never catch on in arena. You need to give these effects tied to a body or tied to card draw or something in order for it to be usable in arena. So that's what I'm hoping to see.
Yeah. I don't think it's. I think it's very hard to balance a card like that in both
Very
arena
hard.
and constructed. So like
Totally agree.
Saboteur is, and you're talking about the body, right? And that's right. You want a small disruption effect attached to a very large body, and like relative to the effect of the disruption, and that makes it usable in arena, and that makes it softer and constructed, which is also good. You don't want the game to just turn on like, did you randomly pull the right thing out of your opponent's deck or whatever, right? Like that's not. I don't know how much skill that is in constructed. Um, but um, but yeah. So I think that's a good design direction if they're going for disruption. And also, disruption doesn't need to actually disrupt. It could just like Madame Lazul right now, where you get to see your three cards from your opponent's hand and then take one. You don't have to take one, but if you just get to see three cards from your opponent's hand, that allows you to play around a lot of stuff. Um, that's a direction that I wouldn't mind seeing them go in either. But for me, when it comes to what I want to see from this expansion, and I think it's very, very important, and I think it's a 50-50 chance of them doing it or not doing it. Um, a year ago, I would have said there's a 100% chance of them not doing it, or like a 75 to 80, 87.5% chance of them not doing it. But the odds have gone higher now with Rise of Shadows, and that is more 2-drops, especially neutral 2-drops, because whatever failed about this, like, not failed, I mean, they knew what was going to happen. Whatever was bad about Curve Stone is mostly about what you can do once you have the curve and how everything snowballs. That's what's the problem. The problem is not actually having the game start on 2 or giving decks the option for the game to start on 2. Once all the powerful 3-drops come back, you can have just like more 2-3s and 3-2s exist in the arena pool. But you can't do that if Blizzard's going to keep rotating the way they do. So one thing that's important about the rotations that's coming in is that they are not adding an extra set. I don't know why they decided this. I was really hoping they were going to add an additional set, because that's how sets usually go, right? You get an additional set every year in standard. So right now, they've just kind of like locked it in as saying the correct number of cards to have in the arena, the optimal number of cards, is as if 1.5 new expansions have come out. So that's definitely on the very low end. And it does allow you to play around stuff more, so they may have just set it at that level. But I was hoping that when more expansions come out, they'd add more to it. Like right now, instead of having 4.5 sets come in, maybe have 5 sets come in, and then afterwards maybe have 5.5 sets come in, and then keep it at 5.5 sets. Like I think for me at least, 5.5 sets being in, and 0.5 is like one of the like smaller adventure type sets. For me, 5 sets is the perfect number. And right now, 5.5 sets is the perfect number. And right now we're at 4.5 sets. And so what happens when you have fewer sets in the arena is that you get offered the same choices over and over again in the draft, and all your runs start feeling more and more the same, especially with the bucket system going on. So I don't think they're striking the right balance here, and there's been a lot of complaints without offering this particular solution. The complaints is just that you see the same stuff in the same buckets, the games feel the same, the drafts feel the same, your decks feel the same in the big picture. And that is caused by not having variety in the arena. So you can shake it up every 2 months, but you're going to get the same decks for those 2 months period, because that's all the cards you have in there. So rather than keep shaking it up more, I think 2 months is about as shake-uppy as you want to go. Not shaking it up every month, that's a little too much. Especially because you have to balance it. Or do whatever Blizzard is doing that they're calling balancing. You really want more cards in the arena, is what I'm getting at. And it has a lot of like follow-on effects that are good, and that hasn't happened. So okay, anyway, on the backdrop of that having not have happened, the amount of 2-drops you get offered in this particular cycle is based on having a 2-drop heavy set for 3 out of the 4 major expansions that they picked. Because Rise of Shadows is 2-drop heavy, GBG is 2-drop heavy, and TGT is 2-drop heavy. If you look at the what happened before, that was a 2-drop, and it's not even it's not even 3 out of 4. It's 3.5 out of 4 because Rise of Shadows has an offering bonus. So 3.5 out of 4.5. And you compare that to the meta that was the initial Rise of Shadows meta, in which you were a little more shaky on the 2-drops, but it was still okay. And in that meta, you had 2 of the sets that were coming in that were low on 2-drops, rather than only 1 of the sets that's low on 2-drops. So now, this new set that's coming in, SOU, terrible. SOU will, if it doesn't have a lot of 2-drops, you're going to go from a 1.5, like your anchor set, your current set, which has the offering bonus, to a 0. And your other sets right now, League of Explorers is normal for 2-drops, not good or bad. Journey to Ungoro is heavy on 2-drops, that's good. Kobolds and Catacombs is low on 2-drops. Rastakhan's Rumble is low on 2-drops. So now, out of your 4.5 sets, if Saviors of Uldum is low on 2-drops, you will have 1 out of 4.5 sets of your major sets. So like maybe like 1.25 out of 5 total that have 2-drops. Whereas we were in a 2-drop, like okay-ish kind of area in the first Rise of Shadows meta, and that had 3.5, 3.75 out of 5. So to go from 3.75 as your okay-ish kind of amount, like right now we have, right now we have 3.75 in Rise of Mechs. In Rise of Shadows, before Rise of Mechs, we had 2.75 out of 5. So like almost 50% of the decks. So to go from 2.75, which felt like you had a choice between 2-drops and starting on 2 and starting on 3, to 1.25 is going to be such a big drop. It's literally halving the amount of 2-drop bonus that you get. Like, I don't know how else to put it because I don't have the exact number of 2-drops, but basically, you will not be able to start on 2 with any class if SOU is low on 2-drops for this next meta because of how the arena's been set up, which means every class, and the powerful 3-drops are back. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it means that even if you give people the options of 2-drops, people won't be able to, like, it won't be like that good for them because the 3-drops are back to dominate. But now you're not even going to give them the option, and that wipes away aggro decks. So your meta is going to always start on 3. Your aggro decks are going to have a crap ton of 1s and 3s, and that's how aggro works. And then on turn 2, you're going to hero power or play more 1s, which really means you're going to go even more 1s. And it's going to polarize the meta, actually. So it's not that I don't think aggro decks are going to work, even if the whole meta is very slow. Aggro decks are just going to go a lot more aggro. And it's going to be like a rock, paper, scissors effect. Like, this is not, it's terrible, terrible, terrible balance. Now, Hearthstone's not printing cards with any thought to Arena. So, hopefully, for the people who, like, have picked these sets, and I don't know, it's also not clear that they're picking sets based on balance in any way at all. Like, they may just be picking sets based on what seems cool, and I don't know what seems cool to them. But there's just a 50-50 chance of Saviors of Uldum not having enough 2-drops, and the whole meta becoming a huge slugfest of slower mid-range decks versus control decks versus actual attrition decks that will try to starve you of cards. Like, and make you fatigue. That's not a fun meta. Like, control is only fun when you get to control aggro, and maybe mid-range, and faster mid-range. Control is not that fun when you're facing against another control deck. Like, I mean, for me, that's like one of the most boring things ever. It's like, pass. I draw cards. You draw cards. I play a card that has an ability that puts a minion on the board. You remove that immediately and draw more cards. Like, what are you doing? Everyone uses their hero power every other turn. And this is 50% chance of this happening. So, Rise of Shadows had a lot of 2-drops, which I was very happy about. But that is the anchor set for this whole cycle. And the first expansion of the year usually has more 2-drops than other expansions. So it's now up to Saviors of Uldum to either continue having almost as many 2-drops as Rise of Shadows. Rise of Shadows was kind of excessive in the 2-drops. I was so surprised. But Saviors of Uldum needs at least a good chunk of it. And if they don't have it, this is going to be a very terrible meta. Like, you think Rise of Mechs is a bad meta? Wait till you see the other side of Rise of Mechs. And it all hinges on Savior of Uldum and how many 2-drop Saviors of Uldum has. That's my rant.
Cool.
Oh, my rant's not over. One of the neutral 2-drops, by the way, the one that we've been shown that has to do with quests, is not even going to be in the arena. So we're already down 1 neutral 2-drop. So we're not off to a good start. Yep.
Now are you done?
Yep, now I'm done.
All right. Let's talk about the other thing you want to talk about. The meta.
Okay, deep fried meta. For today's deep fried meta, I'm just gonna go over something that we talked about on our subreddit. We have a subreddit, Reddit. It's the Grinning Goat subreddit, and someone asked on there, like, basically from our last deep fried meta that we did 2 weeks ago, to like expand on what to do on curve, right? What like curvestone means, not like just the effects, but like how to like get an advantage on curvestone. And I was like, oh, that's right. Like, if you played Curvestone before, you know these early game tricks, and you see us right now on like the Coop and everywhere else, just like applying it without too much commentary because it's so innate to us now. But a lot of people, especially people who have joined the game in the last like 3 years, rather than the very beginning, it's not like that familiar to them because it hasn't mattered as much. But this always matters in every meta. It just matters more in this particular Curvestone meta, and it will continue mattering for the next month. So it's not like something that you're gonna not use again ever. So early game reads are very simple to make. It's basically like, do you have a 2-drop? Do you have a 3-drop? And all you have to think is, if I had a 2-drop, would I have played in the way that they would have played? And because they have so few mana and so few options, if they have a 2-drop, they will play the 2-drop rather than pass or hero power and do nothing. If they have a 3-drop, they would do that, right? If they pass the first turn and they have a coin, and on the second turn they hero power, that means they don't have 2 3-drops, or they would have coined a 3-drop and played another 3-drop. In fact, it probably means they don't even have 1 3-drop, because, I mean, you know, but the next turn they could coin for 4, right, if they're doing that. So you should always also expect that they'll put out a 4-drop. It's just putting yourself in your opponent's shoes. 2 particular things really are very simple and will up your win percentage a lot. And the first one is making the read that they don't have a 2-drop, and they've either already used the coin or they don't have the coin, or you don't mind if they use the coin. And then you put them into a situation where they have to ping. Like, they have 3 mana and they have to ping. Well, they can't do anything else there, right? That's an easy ping trick. So in that case, they've used 3 mana to ping. You should be able to get a good tempo advantage if they have to do that. Even if they're at 4 mana, if you have a read that they don't have a 2-drop and you're forcing them to ping because you managed to get a favorable trade or whatever, you have a 3-1 or a 4-1 on the board, they have to ping. But they don't have a 2 mana card, so they had to have top decked the 2 mana card in the last 2 turns, or they're going to spend 4 mana to ping. You win the game at that point in a Curbstone meta. So get your reads and then play off the hero power like that. All the powerful classes right now have a ping. So as you go higher up in your wins in a particular arena run, you're more likely to see these classes, and this becomes even more useful. The other one is very similar, which is that if they're in a position where they have to or they want to ping, let's say you don't even have a read, but it's turn 4, and you're going to make a trade because they played a 2-3, you have a 3-3, you've killed their 2-3, you have a 3-1 on the board, and you have 3 mana, they're going to have 4 mana the next turn. You don't know if they're going to be able to ping and play a 2-drop. You have no reads on them, right? Because they played a 2-drop on turn 2. So instead, what you can do, if you can do it, is play some cards in some combination that also requires ping. So like basically play into the board clear. Play into the Fan of Knives. Because a Fan of Knives, 1, they have to have it, and 2, they pass their whole turn. It's not as bad as them, like, if they don't have it, you will really be on the board. So let's say you have this 3-1 on the board left, and you play a Microtech controller. Now you have like a 2-1, a 1-1, a 1-1, a 3-1. If they ping and pull out a 2-drop out, they haven't pinged your 2-1. And they generally want to ping your 2-1 on that Microtech controller. It's stuff like that, right? Where it's just very intuitive to us that you get a little bit of a tempo advantage or value advantage if you just play in that way when these situations arise. They don't always arise. I would say in most games they don't arise, but they arise often enough in like probably 25%, 20 to 25% of games you face against the ping class, where it makes a difference, right? And it's also a great place to drop your 2-1 1-mana cards, because 1-mana cards are really good right now, but they're kind of crap against ping classes. So how do you make them good? You play them when they have to be pinged something else, or you play them when their ping is very, very awkward and they have to use more than 2 mana to do the ping. That's it. That's the deep fried meta. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. No.
All right, going for speed here. Deep fried meta is brought to you by. Oh no, question from the goat is going to be brought to you by. Okay, whatever. Let's just give a shout out to our patrons. All of this podcast is brought to you by our patrons. I know we haven't done this announcement for a bit between the move and then Merps not being here for a while, but we're all back. And it is July. So the top patrons for July, thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on here at the Lightforge Podcast. It is 4P, Afro Ninja TB, Brand New, Changin, Joshua C, Kirby 5 Life, Eric L, and RV Night Train. Also, a special shout out to David Attenborough Says, who is our YouTube manager. And our YouTube's getting a lot of random traction these days. I really don't know why. We have like a 65K viewed video, like just a regular 12-win run, as far as I know. Like, I don't even think we have a guest on that for that run. And normally before this, we got like 5K views, and we were pretty happy with that. So check it out if you haven't. It's all edited. David Attenborough Says is our YouTube manager, and he edits all of our 12-win videos. Yeah, they go on about once, maybe twice a week, depending on how well we're doing. Which I've like worked backwards on this. It means we get like, for 12 or 11 win videos, we get like 1 out of every like 5 or 4 runs is 11 or 12 runs, which is the 12 wins, which is pretty insane. Especially because we don't play all the good classes all the time, at least. So yeah, we've just put on yesterday a video up there for our Twitch rivals prep between me and Tex, where we just went on a roll with this like RNG heavy mage, and it was such a great time, and it was a great run. I don't know what you can. I mean, okay, we did do stuff, especially like after 8 wins, but it was a fun time. Anyway, go check that out. It is youtube.com/grinninggoat /ADWCTA also works. So thank you guys so much. And if you people ask what's the best way to support us, you can make a donation direct. There's a link to it on our Twitch page. It's kind of hard to find. You can subscribe as a Twitch viewer if you're a Twitch viewer, but if you just watch our YouTube content or listen to the podcast and you want to support us, go to patreon.com/grinninggoat, sign up, any little bit helps. We're pretty casual about this, but it really does it really does help. And yeah, sign up for however much you want. We're not particularly well organized on that front. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your support. And yeah, let's move on to the next topic, which is question from the goat. Card good bad? What do you want?
You pick.
Okay, we'll do card good bad, and we'll end on question from the goat then. Card good bad today is Evil Cable Rat. I just want to revisit this card. I guess it's going out of the meta in a month, but lackey generators are not, and this is the neutral lackey generator, and I'm pretty sure they're going to add another neutral lackey generator in the next set. So Evil Cable Rat's rated a 109 on the Lightforge tier list, which makes it pretty good, nothing special. A lot of people really like this card though. I think many more people think it's higher than they think it's lower, but we maintain this rating basically throughout the card's entire life. It is a 2-mana 1/1 beast, battlecry, add a lackey to your hand. Very, very simple. Remember from our lackey discussions, the lackeys basically come with a coin. So this is like a 1-mana 1/1 with a 2-mana lackey. So it's a 1-mana 1/1, and it adds a random of a small subset of a normal card into your hand, which kind of fits with these other 1-mana 1/1s that add a random whatever card into your hand, right?
Yeah.
So and you may be wondering, like, you may be saying, okay, fine, but look at Swashbuckler, for example, in Rogue. Right, that's a 1-mana add whatever card into your hand card. Swashbuckler is a 140. Why is your Evil Cable Rat only a 109? That's a 30-point difference, ADWCTA. Like, something's got to be wrong. Well, one mana cards are a little better for Rogue because of combos and because of the dagger combos into it nicely. But two, you have to pay the extra mana up front on this. And who knows when you're going to get the mana back, because you only get the mana, it's not really a coin. You only get the mana back when you want to use that lackey. Add on top of that the lackey is RNG in a very big way. That Discover lackey is so different than like a Tempo lackey. Like, it really affects a lot of things, and the better of a player you are, the more that kind of stuff is going to hurt you. On top of all that, you don't get to play it on curve. I mean, you could play it on curve as a 2-drop, but being on curve as a 1-drop and still getting a card back is so much better than not being on curve in a 2-drop and then getting your curve back at some time in the future whenever you play your lackey, right?
Yep.
The transform one also requires certain conditions, so you won't be able to play that for a while. Even the rush one, you can't even really like play too freely. I mean, the transform one you can play immediately onto the Evil Cable Rat, and that's fine. But if you are playing it on turn 2, you can't do that. So the Evil Cable Rat is all kinds of awkward compared to a Swashbuckler. And the delayed tempo gain that you get from your lackey and the RNG, like, it all adds up. And it adds up to like about 30 points. That's how much all that stuff is worth. So you could just look at it and say, like, well, tempo-wise it's basically the same. So why, right? Like, card advantage-wise, tempo-wise, it's all kind of basically the same. It's just a little RNG. You know, we understand Lightforge Chairless penalizes RNG, but it's not that much RNG because you have one of 5 possible choices. It's not like add a random minion to your hand that could be really good or really bad. These are all kind of the same amount of good, right? All these lackeys. Their values are about the same. They are all 1 mana. They all drop a 1/1 body. And while that's all true, the way they're used is so different that it's still very disruptive. Not as disruptive as a pure RNG card. For a pure RNG valuation of adding a RNG card to your hand and one to your opponent's hand, you can look at Spell Slinger, which we have at like an 86 or something. Like, it's a 3/4 for 3. It's an 86. That's like a 30-point penalty just for RNG alone on 2 cards. So RNG is a pretty huge penalty, even if it's in your hand. And the delay tempo. So just wanted to throw that out there because I know I get asked this question a lot, and every single time Evil Cable Rat comes up, people like pick it. So yeah, I mean, lackeys they're kind of problematic for good players, and you'll also see this is the same reason, by the way, at least the RNG part. It's the same reason why if you look at Evil Miscreant, we have it at a 137, which makes it a premium, but we have a lot of other cards higher than a 137 in Rogue. And people are always like, that's not right. Evil Miscreant is absolutely ridiculous. On average, sure, but it's kind of disruptive. Even when I have an Evil Miscreant, I never coin it out. Coining it out is not a terrible play, but you need a kind of a deck for it. It's not just, like, I see people coin it out as a matter of course. Like, of course you coin out an Evil Miscreant. Oftentimes you really want to play it later on. Why? Because you coin out the Evil Miscreant, you don't get your tempo back from your lackeys. And then you're just behind. So you better have a deck that's able to play from behind in the early game. Which, to be fair, a lot of rogues do have that kind of deck, but it's not a 100% kind of thing. Same with a lot of the other lackey cards. We get this Evil Genius question a lot too, where we have Evil Genius rated, I think, lower than what people like too. Evil Genius we have as a 126. I think most people think of it as an auto pick, and I do pick it a lot. It's high for its bucket, but it's not an auto pick for me.
Cool.
Question from the GOAT. Let's end on a question from the GOAT.
All right. I'll let you ask it and I'll answer it, since this was your question anyways.
Okay. So, question from the GOAT is what kind of, and we do this every, I don't know, I want to say few months or something, maybe every year. What kind of other games are you playing, and how are they? We don't all just play Hearthstone, I think.
We definitely do not. All right, so if you guys haven't checked it out yet, this is the game that I'm really into these days, which is Risk of Rain 2. It's an early access game. It's an early access roguelike on Steam right now. I believe it's like $20. Well worth it. I've been playing a ton, and it is so polished that I absolutely forget it's an early access game. But it's a 3D roguelike, brutally difficult.
So what is it? Are you in first person? Are you in third person? Is it like a platformer?
It's third person, and you have different characters with different abilities. And
is it like D3 like type camera view, or is it like World of Warcraft like camera view?
Yeah, it's like World of Warcraft.
Okay.
It follows behind you.
Okay.
And you can. And you pick up random items, right? So every run is different. Every run is different because you pick up random items. The enemies that spawn are random. The levels, they have set levels, but within those set levels, there's like differences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just play until you die. That's pretty much it. And there are very brutal ways.
What do you get after you die? Do you get to upgrade stuff with like the points you get, or like, because roguelikes work differently, right? Like you always have to start over.
You start all.
So you get nothing?
You get nothing from dying.
Okay, but can you like save at a certain point your points?
No, you can't save.
so every game is literally exactly the same. Like if you started a totally new account, you would be in the same exact position as.
Well, no. So there's achievements that you can get, and then those open up more items.
Okay. So if you accomplish something in a run, you will get additional benefits in all future runs.
Any deaths after like the first 5 hours of play, give or take, don't give you anything.
Okay, so does anything give you anything? Can you achieve something in a run that will give you a permanent boost in all future runs, or in your next?
There's no permanent boost, but they will open up items that are powerful that you could possibly find.
Okay, so there's an RNG boost.
Yeah. There's an RNG boost.
Because there's got to be some kind of progression, right? I mean, right, not always, depending on how pure of a roguelike the game is.
Okay, so there is one sort of currency that you can take with you, even after death. So there's an account-wide currency.
And what can you do with that?
You can use it to buy some items, but these are items which are not necessarily good for you. They have a benefit and a drawback.
Right,
as
like
well.
Mimi kind of like items, or like just to differentiate you. Got it.
Yep.
Cool. Sounds good.
Really fun. You guys should definitely check it out.
Yeah. I've been playing a roguelike as well. I've been playing a Crypt of the Necrodancer. Which is like, if you haven't heard of it, it's like a rhythm roguelike game. It's like Legend of Zelda kind, like SNES Legend of Zelda kind of things, where you run around and you hit people, but you got to move to the beat. And the beats are really simple. It's barely a rhythm game. Like, it's a rhythm game in the sense that you have to be able to keep a constant beat of like dot 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 dot, and it goes faster and slower, but it never gets complicated. It's always the same set beat. You never have to do like dut 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 dut. You don't have to do that, which I think is a missed opportunity. But I think they think it makes the game too hard or something. But yeah, otherwise it's like a dungeon crawler, and it's a roguelike. You can upgrade items kind of the same way you can upgrade hearts. It's a little bit more forgiving than I think Risk of Rain. But yeah, that's been fun. Old school art, pixel art. And I did that to kind of get practice for Zelda, because Crypto Necrodancer, the indie team, made a Nintendo Switch game because Nintendo gave them the freaking Zelda license after seeing their game, and so there's a game out now called Candace of Hyrule, which is a Zelda game. It plays like the SNES Zelda but with a rhythm aspect, and it's a lot easier than Crypto Necrodancer. So I've been playing that with my girlfriend, brand new. And it's a co-op game if you have a second player, and it's really nice. It's easy difficulty, pretty fun. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've also picked up as kind of like a pick up for 5 minutes play, do a little before bed kind of game. Baba Is You. It's a puzzle game that's the most strange game I've ever seen in a puzzle game. It's like logic statements. Like Baba is you, flag is win, rock is push. You push rocks around, then you touch the flag and you win. But all the words you make, you can push those around because they're all blocks too. And so you can make different logic statements. And then you can keep changing the logic statements in the middle of the game. So it's so hard to describe it. But it's definitely a puzzle game and a logic game all built into one. And I'm like a philosophy major from back in the day. So this is like so right up my alley. I'm like, it's the best puzzle game that I've played for me. Which is not to say that I think it's the best puzzle game ever made or the best puzzle game for people, but the difficulty curve is very smooth. I'm like at the end game now, and it's like super freaking difficult, but like at no point was I like super stuck, but I was stuck a number of times. And this is me. I like to think I'm pretty good at these games, and on top of that, this is the particular type of puzzler that I should be extra good at, and he still got stuck a few times. But the first few missions are very difficult, are very easy. And it ramps up very nicely. I think it's excellent game design, and they've definitely tested it a lot with like a bunch of different people at varying levels of experience with puzzle games and these kinds of things. And so, yeah, I don't know how much it's probably $20 too, or probably cheaper on Steam. But I definitely recommend that to everybody who, like, if you're into Hearthstone, you're somewhat into like strategy games or puzzle games, I think. Turn-based, right? Here it's not even turn-based. It's just you do whatever, right? There's no enemies. It's just a puzzle.
Yep.